So, Dave, this is a question we have been getting a lot recently. There are a lot of people who are wondering about if they should get their roof inspected since we've had all this terrible weather recently. What is your opinion about that?
Well, I think that the question comes down in two directions. One is certainly roofs. We use shingles in Texas that are rated at 25 or 30 years. The reality is that a roof in Texas, due to the difficult weather conditions here, lasts 12 to 15 years. A 25-year roof will last about 12 years. A 30-year roof, if you're real lucky, might last 15. And so what happens is that it certainly pays if you've had a roof for a while to have it inspected and maintain it. Now, that's going to cost you, depending on the size of the house, from $8,000 to $12,000. Some of the bigger roofing companies will finance it. Otherwise, you're going to need to finance it yourself. And those are the normal circumstances. The house that I sold in Virginia recently, my rental property up there, about 3-4 years before I sold it, the roof was in rough condition, and I went ahead and put a new roof on. And I think that was about $8,000 or $8,500. We put a first-class roof on. One of the debates you get into in roofing is, do you remove the existing roof? That does increase the cost of doing the roof. I can tell you, I would never put a roof on without removing the prior roof. The reason for that is twofold. One of them is, again, due to the rough conditions in Houston, sometimes your underlayment, the plywood generally that is underneath the roofing material, has damage to it. You won't see that if you don't take the existing roof off. Secondly, if you develop a leak in the new roof, it's almost impossible to get to because you've got a old roof underneath it. So again, it makes it more expensive, but generally it's the smarter way to do things. Part two of this is whether it's covered by insurance, and I thought that where you might be going. And the thing is that I had a different rental property, and we got tagged by a surprise tropical storm. The property was in Galveston, and we were hit by a surprise storm about 2 years ago, and it tore part of the roof off. In that case, the insurance company covered a very reasonable proportion of the roof, and that helped me out a lot financially in that particular situation. So if you have specific storm damage, or you suspect that you have storm damage, the rule of thumb on that is you better get a roofer out there very quickly to take a look to see if it is storm related. If it is storm related, then you need to contact your homeowner's insurance or the landlord's insurance for rental property very quickly, because usually they're going to have about a 30 or maybe 40-day window. And so if you're hoping that your insurance company is going to help you out, it needs to be tied to the storm very directly. So just because your roof is beat up, your insurance company is probably not going to pay for it. But like I said, in my case, in my Galveston rental property, because the storm tore sections off the roof and we had water coming inside. In fact, the insurance company also covered some of the sheetrock damage inside the property. But again, that was specifically tied to the storm. But in general, having a solid roof is an extremely important factor for all properties. I did want to mention one real quick thing: whether you get a covered drain system or not all houses in Houston have been built with gutters and drain pipes. It is very, very helpful, especially for frame properties, to have a comprehensive gutter and drain system. So if your house doesn't have one or it hasn't been properly maintained, that is a very good idea for extending the life of your roof. I had the house I mentioned, the rental house I replaced in Virginia, replaced the roof. When I bought the house, the frame of the house, it was a cedar siding house, very nice house, but it had never had gutters. And what happened is that the siding took a tremendous amount of damage because it was drenched in water every time it rained, instead of that rainwater being partially deflected by the gutter system.